external monitoring for ultra-low freezers. We touched on external monitoring in our freezer range and our refrigeration range. But for ultra-low freezers, it's when it becomes really critical. Almost every customer that we supply freezers for have some system for external monitoring. In this video, we're going to dive through the different types of external monitoring that most of our customers use. Probably mention some options that they have and they use in the past, and also some brands and some competitors. And just to give you some key tips on how you can improve your customers' external monitoring and systems that we can offer as well. So we're going to dive right into this. So firstly, probe placement is one of the most important things that customers get wrong all the time. I think almost every ultra low freezer on the market has a probe. I know with -20 and -40, sometimes this is optional, but I've never seen a -80 without this feature. In addition to the probe pod, as you can see, there's a probe pod here and there's some cables running through. In addition to the probe pod, there's generally a probe cage. Now, not every freezer has this. I think both Antec and Artico, if I'm not mistaken, has this. And probe cages allows us to install our external monitoring probe right next to the freezer probes for best reference. We've had cases in the past where customers just throw the probe, it touches either rack. You can imagine that if it's not monitoring air temperature and if it's sitting against the rack or the freezer, it's going to give you wrong readings or different readings. Also, once you start filling up a freezer, this is when problems happen, and this is something also to consider. A lot of customers have huge freezers with few samples and everything goes well until they start loading the samples. The best probe placement is to put it close or next to your freezer probe. Most freezers have provision in the probe cage for this. As you can see, this is sitting actually outside the probe cage. So that's probably not a good example. Also, this probe looks like a normal thermocouple probe, doesn't look like a PT1000 that would probably be better suited for this freezer. Up until I still see cases where customers are using probes and installing them through the gasket or the door. Now, this causes air to enter the freezer and this causes a lot of issues. A lot of these cases, customers work with some external service providers to install these monitoring systems, and they really don't care. They will install the probes wherever they can. I've had experience in the past where they drilled into the freezer to install probes and damaged the entire freezer, even though the freezer had probe pods. So this is something you've got to be careful with. I would advise you that if you ever install a freezer and when other companies come to do the probe installation, rather send them more manuals and put it on email so it doesn't affect the customer. The experience that I had where a service provider drilled into the freezer, it took quite some time to figure out what went wrong because we didn't have access to the room. And over half a year, the customer was extremely disappointed with us because they thought there was something wrong with our freezer. When we did manage to get access and we proved the point, in the end, the service provider had to pay for the repairs and pay for the new freezer. But I think it still damaged our reputation with the customer. So rather prevent that from happening. BMS dry contacts, I don't ever see this these days, and I could barely find pictures for this, but all our freezers still come with this option. And you can see that in the back of this freezer here. This looks, and you can see here in this picture some cables connected to this. All this is, it's an open and close alarm, so this allows you access to the freezer alarm. Usually customers have BMS systems or building management systems, and you can connect just with a cable directly to the building management system. So if the freezer alarm, they'll get alarm in the building management system. However, this just gives you the alarm signal. It does not tell you why the freezer alarmed. Remember, we have freezers, many different types of alarms, including door alarm, condenser high temperature, cabinet high temperature alarm, freezer malfunction. So the freezer alarms and you don't really know why. Sometimes students or when researchers or lab technicians open the freezer door for over a period of time, I think it's 5 minutes, the alarm starts buzzing. So all the alarms are the same and you wouldn't know how to respond, but this feature is here. It used to be very popular in the past, not so much these days. Another monitoring system that was really popular in the past was SMS alert systems. This is a local company called SMS Alert. There are a couple of different systems like this. So the first version of this was this little black box, and inside this there used to be an old cell phone like a 3310 that was installed inside of this. I suppose most people watching this video will not know what a 310, but it's an old Nokia. And that phone was hardwired or into this box. And you'll have two wires that stick out here that connect into the dry contacts like that there. So what happened was If the freezer alarmed, it'll automatically send an SMS from the phone to whatever number that you installed. Now, the first versions of this were very dodgy because firstly, you would have to open this box to load airtime, but then apps were created and you was able to load airtime remotely, which is much better. But the problem as well is that every time the freezer alarmed, you will get an SMS and you will not be able to differentiate what the SMS was. There have been some improvements now, even by SMS Alert. They have better systems. They have now systems with probes as well. They're a little bit better to work with. But customers seem to have opted out of it. I think they got fed up with it over the years and they just given hope on SMS alerts and they don't really seem to like this. But we can offer it if need be. This is a version that we've offered in the past. On the right hand side, this is by Alaska. I don't like it as well. It's also given us a lot of installation problems. This one's a little better. It has a probe connected, so it's not alarming on the freezer alarms. It has an independent probe, which is great. But we've always seemed to have coverage problems installing this. And it's never been an easy install. Problems here, but still, it doesn't give great user experience. It doesn't provide great user experience. So it's not a go-to for me. But if there's no other system and the customer does not have any other option and wants to use it, this is something we can do. Remote cloud monitoring, this is the best option and the most popular option these days. So these are the two options that we provide. There are quite a bit of other options available on the market these days. In the past, there were a few big suppliers. Beyond Wireless was one of them and still is for a lot of our customers. They have Beyond Wireless systems. And basically it's a digital device with a probe that connects to the freezer and this relays information. A few ways to do this, and I'm not going to get into it in this video, but there's a few different technologies around this. There are Wi-Fi systems that connect directly with Wi-Fi and the information is available on the cloud. And there are radio frequency systems like the ViewLink system that transmit via radio frequency, but then connected to a server and the information again is available in the cloud. We won't get into the details of this, but basically what this is, it's a device that has a probe connected that you stick into the freezer and you can download data, you can download trending data, so you can download your temperature every 5 minutes. You can choose log every 5 minutes or every half an hour. And this is really important for customers as well, because a lot of customers require this for their sponsors and they're required to provide temperature logs of the freezer during a month period. So you download graphs, you can download logs of the freezer. You can also set alarm groups. So for example, you can basically have 3 different rooms with 5 different freezers and create different groups. So every time any one of these groups of these freezers go off, the person that's in charge of the group can get an email or an SMS or an in-app notification. So these are things we can do. It's pretty easy to set up and customers seem to like this. Vaisala ViewLink is our go-to system. It's one of the most premium systems in the world. We have 21 CFR compliance with this. So any pharma, FDA customers, this is our go-to. Insane technology. I think we have other training videos on ViewLink. This is our product. We are the South African agents for this. And it's one of our most interesting products that we have. But we also have the Alaska Wi-Fi series for customers that are not keen on spending too much money on this monitoring system and just need modular sort of solutions. So this is something we can offer them.